E noi andiamo avanti e parliamo di Africa.
We want to talk about Africa. Africa, the African contribution, we mentioned it many times this morning, and
Di lavoro, ma è anche, come veniva ricordato questa mattina, una
So also we're talking about a potential source of materials in Africa and the construction of tools that are useful for renewables and batteries. So there's a lot to do. And this is the ground on which we need to work, because if you don't win in Africa, it's very difficult to make sustainable development in the world. So we're going to talk now with Marco Rusconi, who is director for the Italian Agency for Cooperation and Development, and Mario Molteni, professor of business economy, Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, and counselor for E4 Impact Foundation. So we have Andrea De Marco. No, De Marco is here with us from UNIDO. We have Sally Kemoto Sawaya connected with us, and she's going to talk to us about an industrial activity in Africa. She's a managing director of a company that produces carcade and cosmetics using local plants. Mero Herbs is the name of the company. We are also connected with Raffaele Rangella, Director General of Confindustria, who dedicated to Africa an important part of its activities within the Piano Mattei, such an important contribution with benefits for Italian companies and all companies and African startups. So I would like to start with you. And Langella, if you don't see the timer, I'm sorry, but the time is 5 minutes. Okay, I've started my timer. I'm sorry for not being there with you. I have been to San Patrignano just a few months ago, and it's like my heart stayed there. It's been an incredible experience for me. Okay. We are indeed talking a lot about Africa, and Africa is a promising territory, not only in terms of raw materials, but also as a potential commercial partner and source of human resources. I can hear my voice. Well, certainly Africa is the only important continent.
Tutte le altre aree del mondo sono in contrazione.
So the African population will touch upon 2 billion in 2050. Beforehand, you talked about the mineral resources of Africa, and normally, we are considering Africa as an El Dorado. I can see Marco Rusconi on stage, who is now directing the Agency for Cooperation, and we are talking about the fact that China used to be a potential market for European companies, especially in terms of turnover. Certainly so for Africa, because if this large economic growth will start, so many African countries, from the point of view of development, will represent an important point. But we also can see different challenges. In 2024, Africa is supposed to create 14 million jobs. Now, if we compare the demographic rate, the economic growth rate, and the workplaces that Africa has created up to January this year, we are under the threshold we should respect to guarantee constant occupation. So, this is not to say that Africa is not an opportunity, but we need to contain our enthusiasm. We have to be very humble, especially when facing the relations with African countries. Italian multinationals have been there for a long time, and we have been present for a long time. We are trying to really set up our diplomacy, our diplomatic network, but up to a few decades ago, Africa was not on the center stage on the global scene. And of course, China contributed to the development of different metropolitan areas and will contribute to such developments that China itself contributed to create. Then there's China that is throughout Sahel. Then there's Russia with very complex diplomatic relations. There's Turkey. And also, this is the first strategic approach to the African continent that we have ever adopted. So wherever you look, well, I've finished my time. I will stop here. However, we are trying to accompany the activity of our companies in Africa with Confindustria South Mediterranean, and I invite you to get in touch for the activities on this continent. Thank you, Raffaele Langella, General Director of Confindustria. And then we're talking about the different institutions to support Africa. And I would now like to give the floor to Marco Rusconi, Director of the Italian Agency for Cooperation and Development. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you to Dr. Moratti, who invited me to be here today. I am very pleased to be in San Patrignano. So I wanted to start from a consideration that I had during dinner last night. When we talk about Africa, we normally have a negative image. We were talking about Afrocalypse, meaning that everything associated to Africa is a catastrophe, something that is not possible to solve. Certainly, Africa is a fragile continent, and fragility and vulnerability are important words here, because fragility and vulnerability needs a journey that puts responsibility at the center. This is the same for kids that are here and are teaching us how to get out of vulnerability and fragility. But this can also be translated for countries. So there is a topic here about feeling accountable and not only working for Africa, but with Africa. This is the Mattei plan for Africa. So if a government is fragile, maybe local institutions aren't, maybe informal organizations aren't. There's countries where governments don't work, but we can be nevertheless resilient and have foundations upon which we can build. So fragility is important in terms of Africa, but there's not only one Africa, there's many Africas. So I always talk about different Africas. There is an Africa that is still on its knees, and there's another Africa that is standing, that is asking for energy, education, training, because everything else is there. And then there's an Africa that is running. There are countries with space agencies. There is an Africa that has many other things working in its favor. So the Italian Agency for Cooperation and Development has an agency stemming from an enlightened law which wanted to create a system for cooperation in Italy. Of course, there is an important level of coordination, and without cooperation and development, we cannot have systems working for cooperation and development projects. And this is the organization of civil society. Italy places great importance in civil society. I'm thinking about the activity of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, of universities, and every round table has at least one person coming from the university world. Universities are an important part of cooperation and development, and there's local authorities. We have launched a tender of 180 million euros, 124 projects connecting to civil society, and the remaining part for local authorities. Local authorities in Italy are very close to citizens. Basic services are very important, and the trust of citizens towards institutions is very important. You know, if I don't get my waste taken from my home, then I cannot trust the services. So there is a risk for, not taking advantage of all this. There is also the law. The Italian law defines the profit sector as a potential base for cooperation. So the difficulty was putting together companies and development cooperation, because these two worlds were not communicating. Same thing, they weren't communicating. So during the first steering committee with President Meloni, I said, can a Mattei plan start without taking into account 6 million small and medium Italian companies? Of course, not all of them are wanting to be involved in cooperation, but there is a space for a dialogue, and all these tools are important. Like the last piece of network of telephone that connects the most remote areas. So, for a profit project, which is not a charity project, but it is a project that must be sustainable, there are certain characteristics for this tender. So the agency puts €1 for each euro the companies put more money. So it can be indeed an important collaboration, and we can increase also the potential of Piano Mattei. Thanks everyone, especially because we are following the words of the President of the Republic, saying that cooperation and development is a collective heritage of the Italian people. Thank you.
Grazie Marco Rusconi. Un'altra agenzia, questa volta
Another agency, it's UNIDO. It's from the United Nations Agency for the Sustainable Development. Andrea De Marco works everywhere, but in particular in Africa. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I mean, it's difficult to speak now because many speakers have already mentioned all the topics. Now, first of all, I'd like to explain you what UNIDO is. It's an agency specialized in industrial development. It's located in Vienna, 172 member states. It deals with technical cooperation to do technical programming, helps governments in policy regulation and regulation in general, and it also has initiatives of public-private partnerships. We work on 3 pillars: fighting famine in the world, in particular in Africa, from farm to fork is one of our programs. We fight climate change in order to improve energy efficiency, promote renewable energies, and supporting supply chains and value chains. Our goal, if I can summarize, is to support manufacturing companies in developing countries. Because, manufacturing industry is the backbone of industrial development. What do we do with Italy? Well, Italy is one of the largest member states, largest contributors to our agency. We work with cooperation for development with Mr. Rusconi. We promote renewable energies. We promote SMEs because SMEs are a heritage of Italy, but they are perfectly in line with the development of the African continent. We heard a lot about cooperation, and our public-private partnership is a fundamental approach because problems are getting more and more complex. I remember that when I started my university, it was said that rather than giving a fish to a person, which means feeding him once, it's better to learn this person how to fish because he or she can eat all his life. But look at this small wheel that was designed by Professor Kate Reward that shows that economy cannot only grow, it can prosper. So this means that you see, it's a wheel, but there is also a thrift to growth. And outside we have the planetary bound, the fact that we cannot grow forever. So within this circle there are a set of slices. But my speech means that these slices are multilateral actions. And to conclude my speech, I want to say that this integrated approach is what UNIDO did with the Italian cooperation, and it's an approach that offers more sustainability because it is an answer to complex problems, and it is also an approach to including civil society, including universities, including SMEs in the projects in order to work with international organizations. With programs funded by Italy, we implemented very important projects in Africa, for instance, for impact project for incubators. We created the first coffee training centers for Africa. We started to work on design for development, and this was an exclusively Italian contribution. So we have developed creative hubs. So Italy and Light were not only donors, but we're developing partners, because Italy brought its human capital, its knowledge capital to this initiative. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea De Marco. Andrea De Marco already mentioned a foundation that will be mentioned by Mario Molteni, this managing director of for Impact Foundation, as well as professor of business economics at Università Cattolica. Tell us what have been the results you obtained. Well, thank you. I decided to give you 5 messages, just to stick with the time available. What was the basic choice? I agree with what Marco Rusconi said, to give confidence to people. That is betting on resources, betting on the fantasy of African people. So we decided to create business accelerators for African people. And I can tell you that we found excellent ideas in many different sectors, from the more traditional ones like farming to the most technological sectors. So is it reasonable to bet on renewable energies in Africa? Yes, because scarcity can become a business opportunity. That's the first message. We have resources and must value them. Second message, the key word is partnership. We must work together. We must work with them. In this picture, you see a partnership that was signed between a company in Bergamo, leader in circular economy, and a local company in Kenya. The company from Bergamo said 70% of material are recycled in Europe. In Kenya, only 6% of materials are recycled. So creating this partnership between Bergamo and Kenya allows to develop recycling, but the territory is in Africa, and once the skills are developed there, the advantage is for Kenya. Third message. This is a picture of representatives from 30 African universities that created a partnership with us in order to develop programs that can become also can be shared, can put in common all different skills. And this is done in order to improve training for people and to offer people the ability to really implement what they learned. I believe that the Italian university system should be committed to create a partnership for better knowledge. Fourth message. In working with Italian companies, I must admit that there was some resistance. There was some my lack of confidence, but I believe that Italian companies must dare more, and to take opportunities in Africa, because Italian companies understood very easily that the lack of manpower can be solved only if we import labor force from Africa. So in the last few months, we have been committed in a project called Labor Migration with Dignity. So people can be trained, can learn Italian, can learn can have some skills in order to find a job in Italy. And all the partners should be involved to obtain the result. And to conclude, which is the last ideas. We have decided to work in Africa, but more and more opportunities are opened in front of us. So it's possible to do leapfrogging. So moving to more advanced technologies without doing all the intermediate steps and making the mistakes we did in the past. So we are trying to renew our supply chains. For instance, the coffee supply chains described before. There are opportunities, multiple opportunities for us. We are present in 20 countries. In 9 of these countries, we have a hub. We have other companies that support us, like Coldiretti, Confapi, and others. Therefore, we hope that many more companies could be part of our association. Thank you. Mario Molteni, and one of these companies is connected with us. It's a Kenyan company that starts collecting a plant, hibiscus, to create cosmetics and beverages like Karkade. Here we have the managing director, Semi Kimoto Sawaya.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. You have 5 minutes to explain us the core of your activity in Kenya. Thanks a lot.
The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Sally Sawaya. I've been with Meru Hubs Kenya for over 25 years. My journey began straight from campus. I would do my internship at Meru Hubs, and this is where I fell in love with the Meru Hubs story, seeing the direct impact it was having on the local community. I also hold a master's degree in global business and sustainability from Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. I have a passion about community development and women empowerment. Meru Hubs is a community-based social enterprise and stands as a testament of what a community-based social enterprise can achieve. Founded in 1981, our mission has been unwavering to enhance the lives of our farmers and their families. And this is through the cultivation and processing of organic herbal teas, tropical fruit jams, and tomato-based sauces. The foundation of our journey, we began in 1991 by planting 3 herbs, hibiscus, chamomile, and lemongrass. Our farmers are the backbone of our operations, cultivating and delivering these herbs to a processing unit. Our herbal tea factory, we not only process these herbs into high-quality teas, but also champion women's leadership and participation in our workforce. Remarkably, 19% of our staff are women, holding pivotal roles in our operations. And during peak seasons, we are able to employ over 50 support staff, majority of whom are women. Our commitment extends to processing tropical fruit jams as well, and tomato-based sauces. We turn potential waste into valuable products. This not only reduces the post-harvest losses, but also allows us to reach our international markets, exporting to countries like Italy, which is our largest market, Japan, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Our journey has not been easy, especially in the last few years. We continue to face quite a number of challenges, especially climate related. For instance, we've experienced irregular and unpredictable rainfall. Our Meru Hubs community heavily relies on rain-fed agriculture, and being located in a semi-arid region has worsened the water shortage and food security in our community. We have also experienced frequent extreme weathers like droughts that have lasted longer than usual. Kenya has experienced about 3 droughts in the last 10 years. And in 2019, just before COVID, we had a locust infestation that threatened to wipe our crops. Today, as we speak, Meru Hubs, we're going through a very difficult situation because last year we lost our hibiscus crop, and hibiscus is our main crop. This has delayed all our exports, leading to a backlog of payments to staff and producers of about 15,000 euro. But still, we hold on to hope and we pray for a better day. This, however, does not stop us from doing our part as Meru Hubs. When we talk about sustainability, we're looking at how Meru Hubs coexist with the earth. How do we go about our activities? Are we respecting the environment? Are we seeking social justice? Are we creating economic value? So first and foremost, we try as much as possible to use renewable energy at the Meru Hubs processing unit. The factories are powered by solar energy, and this also extends to our staff and producers. We have projects that provide solar lamps and panels for their home use too. I mean, we have the hot African sun, so why not take advantage of it? We also practice organic farming. We do not use fertilizers or chemicals which pollute the environment, and we have certification actually from EcoCert. We plant trees as much as is possible with every opportunity that we get. We sensitize our community about the importance of reducing wastages and recycling as much as possible. We are deliberate also about our packaging. We use production material that is biodegradable and also that material that can be recycled. Lastly,
thank you very much.
we talk about it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for your tale about your company. You said respect of the environment is crucial in the activity that you have developed. Quindi grazie, e questo era un esempio appunto di un'attività. Avete visto, io parlavo di Carcadè e di cosmetici, in realtà poi l'attività che è avviata dal 91 si è ampliata anche.
I talked about teas and cosmetics, but actually their activities include a lot more. So thanks to all our panel for being with us. And I am going to keep Mr. Mario Molteni with me because we now must give an award